Hey, I thought I would have a bit of fun today and talk to you about whether you should sign up for an online course to grow your business. And the reason why I am having a little bit of fun is because I actually have an online course that helps people grow their business. And so I want to give you some advice based on someone who's done lots of courses and someone who now has their own course that they help other people through. And I think there's some really good things that you can learn from this today. And I think there's three things you need to be successful with an online course. So if success is what you want in your business and you're thinking of, joining an online course, then there's three things you need to look out for to make sure that you get results. And the first thing and the first reason you would sign up for any course at all is you want to make sure that you're going down the right path. So the reason you sign up for a course is because the person selling the course says, look, I have a path that you can walk down that will lead to success. And you need to make sure that that path is the right path for you. Now, sometimes the path that they have is a great path that worked 10 years ago. Sometimes it's a path that worked 5 years ago and a path that was working today. But in all of that, it may not be the right path for you. And that's where you need to determine, is this a current path that I should walk down or could walk down and get to the goal? And is the goal at the end the actual goal that I actually want? So I think the first thing you need to make sure of when you sign up for an online course is to make sure that the path that they're going to take you down, the journey they're going to take you down is going to get you to your goal, and that path is actually going to be successful. So how do you figure that out? Well, I think the way you figure it out is you watch. You watch the person or the people or the company that has the course. See if they walk the walk and talk the talk. See if they're doing what they say that you should do. And if they're not, then run. Okay, just run. Because if they're not doing what they're teaching, then they obviously don't have faith in that working for them. Because if they did, they would do it. So I think the biggest way of understanding is this path the correct path for me is if the person teaching it is not doing everything that they're teaching, then you've got to ask yourself the question, well, what are they doing? And why don't I do that? Why don't I do what they're doing to build their program, the marketing they're doing? Because if you're a consultant or you're a web designer, coaching and web design is very similar. You sell it the exact same way. And so whatever they're doing to grow their coaching business or their course business is what you should be doing to grow your web design business. So that's the first thing, path. The next thing you need to be very clear on is you need a guide. And the guide is really important because the path they send you down, let's assume it's the right path now. It doesn't matter what videos they put in, what worksheets, what tutorials that they put together and serve you, and then you consume that content. It really doesn't matter how detailed they are. There is always going to be a gotcha. There's always going to be a question they didn't answer. Not because they have given you something incomplete, but because the possibilities are endless. And so if you have a program that you're doing, what you have to make sure of is that there is a guide that's going to get you unstuck. And I kind of call this consulting, right? So you need someone to come in and say, oh, Marlon, so you've made the Facebook ads campaign, okay? And then, I go to the guide and I say, hey, should I launch it? And they say, no, don't launch it because, that title is awful. No one's going to click on that title. No one's, going to care about that image. That lead magnet you created, that title of the lead magnet, rubbish. Change it because my experience says that's not going to work. So even though you watched the course and you did everything instructed, there's so many nuances to doing things that you need a guide to say, no, stop, start, don't do this, do that, or even to assess what you've done and then to say to you, well, that didn't work. Let's figure out how we're going to make it work now. Because you're not able to do that because you don't know the content as much as they know it, okay? So that's the second thing you need. You need a guide to, when you're walking on the path and a rock falls on and they say, just walk around the rock, okay? Don't walk over it, walk around it, and sometimes you look at it and you can't figure that out. You're like, I don't know what to do. And they just say, walk around. I've been on this path before. Actually, the drop isn't that high, okay? Does that make sense? I'm using a lot of analogies here, so I'm just making sure I'm not getting lost with those analogies. Hopefully you're not getting lost. And then the third thing you need is accountability. And accountability is so important. It doesn't matter how much you want to do it and you want the result. At some point, you get distracted. And so you can have the best laid path. You can have the best guide that says, this is, no, don't do that, do this. Like, keeps correcting you. But if you have nobody to be accountable to that kicks your butt and says, hey, have you done your work this week? If you don't have that, then you're not going to reach the success. And so accountability is one of the most important things. And, I know that, I really know that even if you have a pathway that's not the best pathway, but you just consistently execute on that pathway, you're very accountable to doing it, you'll get a result, okay? And so accountability is so important. Even with a pathway that's not quite right, you'll get a better result going down a pathway that's a little bit off, but doing it consistently than actually doing nothing at all. There's a great quote or saying that I've heard by Mike Tyson, okay? And Mike Tyson says, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And I just love that. Every time I say that, I smile on the inside, because when you think of Mike Tyson and who he is and what he represents, and it's just so true. You can think you're going to beat Mike Tyson, and one punch from Mike Tyson, and basically your plans are gone. You're seeing stars. And it's kind of the same in business. You can have the best pathway. You can have the best concepts and ideas and support. But if you don't have the accountability, the plans just go aside. And so that's what that accountability does for you. So this is my advice, right? If you're looking at doing a course, and there's so many out there, there's so many coaches and consultants and gurus out there telling you that they can help you. Only you can determine whether they're the best person for you. And we all know there's lots of sharks out there, and there's lots of charlatans, and there's lots of people that haven't really done it, and they're teaching it. But let's assume you get rid of those people. This is what you need to look for now. Is it the right path that will get you to your goal? Do you have the right guide who's done it before that can show you the nuances and tweaks to actually get the result, even though you're following a great system, knowing that the system doesn't have all the answers? You need a guide to fill in the gaps. And finally, is there an accountability structure to make sure that you actually do the work? Because most online courses with no coaching and no guides, they have and I'm making this number up, but it's very close to 5%, right? 5% completion rate, very low completion rate. But when you add coaching and guides, that drastically goes up. But even then, not everyone finishes. And so it does come down to you. I guess the fourth thing we could talk about is you, right? But I'm not going to talk about that now. But at the end of the day, maybe I will. At the end of the day, you are the one that's going to make the biggest difference. And I really honestly believe that even with, like I said, a pathway that's just a little bit off, you are the one that makes a difference, that actually executing. I just believe that going down a path is better than doing nothing at all. And any path you start going down, even if you think it's the best laid path there is, you will eventually go off that path, because the more you know, the more you'll realize you don't know, and then you can tweak, and sometimes your journey changes. So look, that's my tip for you. I've worked with lots of people over the last 5 years coaching them, and this is kind of what I have learned. And I hope that you have all the success in your business. It's much easier when you get help, whether it's a business coach, life coach, counselor. It's always good to get people to look in. And I hope that if you ever do sign up for a course, you make the best decision possible for you and your family, and you don't lose your money, but you get the result that you're looking for. So I'll look forward to speaking to you soon.